Listen to this, because this is very fucking wild.
About 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon, and one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you gotta come in and talk to me a second." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." I said, "We're going to war with Iraq? Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that." He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, "This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran."
Anyway, but it's like insane. How do they not talk about that every day?
Right after 9/11, one of the generals called me in. He said, "Sir, you gotta come in and talk to me a second." I said, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq? Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, "Are we still going to war with Iraq?" And he said, "Oh, it's worse than that. This is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran." I said, "Is it classified?" He said, "Yes, sir." I said, "Well, don't show it to me."
Saddam is hell-bent on achieving atomic bombs, atomic capabilities as soon as he can.
In this September 2002 congressional hearing, Netanyahu openly called for war on Iraq and insisted that a U.S. military invasion would be hugely beneficial for the entire Middle East.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region. And I think that people sitting right next door in Iran, young people, and many others will say, the time of such regimes, of such despots, is gone. There is a new age, something.
Wake up, Americans. You're about to be pulled into a war with Arabs, with the Muslim world, and you're going to be made to believe that something horrible that happened to you was done by the Muslims. But it wasn't done by the Muslims. It was done by a wild card, the Israeli Mossad, that's cunning and ruthless and can carry out attacks on Americans and make it look like Arabs did it.
That's the literal definition of a false flag. They didn't write that. That's a false flag.
That's not my conspiracy theory. That's the U.S. Army report.
The day before, published the day before 9/11.
Yes. You can call me any name you want to call me. That's a U.S. Army report. They warned us. They were telling us what Israel is capable of doing.
So a lot of the comments in the thread were like that one right there. And I just want to say something really quickly. These men figured it out the hard way. A lot of the comments are of soldiers that have already fought in wars and figured it out, unfortunately, the hard way. And they're saying that I'm not going back and fighting nobody's fucking war, because they know that they already fought one war for nothing. We went over to Iraq and Iran and the Middle East 20 some odd years ago, all in the name of freedom, because they set up an event to attack the towers to make us think that the Muslims in the Middle East was our enemy. And they had to find out, those guys had to find out the hard way. They had to go over there, watch their friends die, see some fucked up shit. And they came back to a country that is still robbing them of their money, their freedom, and their happiness. And they've been doing it since the United States of America was born. So it's time for you to wake up. Don't you understand the game now? You have to be able to see the game. The game goes as follows. I'm going to explain to you the game. Human beings need controlled. If you cannot control them, you cannot maintain power. How do you control human beings? By keeping them in a state of fear. You can't control human beings who are in their heart and who love unconditionally and who aren't afraid of anything, not afraid of the afterlife, and understand this whole shit is a fucking illusion. You can't control those human beings, and they know that. So they create these events, and I don't know if you're seeing it right now, but it's ramping up all around the world. It's ramping the fuck up. Over in Russia and Ukraine, in Gaza and Israel right now, in Italy, here in the United States of America, people are running across the borders. I'm not saying people aren't dying. I'm not saying wars aren't real. I'm not saying that that's an illusion in the sense it's not happening. I'm saying it's being manipulated and controlled. And if you can't see that yet, we need you to wake the fuck up. Because once human beings wake the fuck up, we stop playing the game. Once you're aware of the game and you no longer play the game, meaning you no longer slip into the state of fear that they want you to slip into with their created red flag events, they can't control you. They can't control us. The moment we say, no, we're just done with that, then it's all done. But if you continue to feed into the bullshit and you continue to fucking think that this person's your enemy because you've seen some dumb shit on the news, you've never even met a fucking Muslim before. I guarantee you half the people that are watching this never even met a Muslim. But I guarantee you when I say the word, it elicits fear, anger, hate, or at very least you're like, those people aren't my kind. Haven't you ever asked yourself why and how fucking crazy that is when you don't even know one? I know quite a few Muslims and they're wonderful people. Wonderful. And that's just one example of the programming that you've been subject to your entire fucking life by the government and the media. And it's time to wake up to the bullshit. It's all an illusion. It's all manufactured. And if we just stop, it would all stop. My point is, if we made the people controlling this, the politicians and their overlords, go to war with us, if they were forced to fight and die with us, violence and wars would stop on this planet over fucking night. Which is telling you that it's all fucking manufactured by the people at the top. You gotta wake the fuck up. The human race is ready for you to wake up to the bullshit.